And welcome, everyone. This is the Authority Brand Podcast. I am your very grateful host, Kurt Mercadante, and I'm grateful for those of you who are joining us live. And if you're listening to this in the podcast form a week later, come out and follow me on Twitter at Kurt Mercadante, on LinkedIn, or over on YouTube. And you can join in these discussions as they happen to share your comments, your agreements, your disagreements, whatever it is. Throw virtual tomatoes at us. And as always, if you have difficult questions or complaints, just give those to the guest. Give those over to the guest right now. And I'm not sure what happened, but it said all of a sudden it looks like it restarted over. And our guest today, Jeff, and I were talking offline that sometimes technology is an interesting thing. But either way, the show must go on. And we have a wonderful show for you today. Our guest is Jeff Wickersham, and he helps leaders and executives unlock their potential and morning fire through positive habits, energy, productivity, and time management. He's a public speaker. He's a #1 best-selling author of the book Rise, Fight, Love, Repeat. He hosts the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast, which I've been a guest on. Thank you so much for that. And he is founder, creator of the 10-week Morning Fire Academy. Jeff, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Kurt, thanks for having me.
So one of the first questions you asked me when I was on your show was about my daily routine. When I wake up in the morning, how do I get my morning fire going? So I'm going to fire right back at you. What's your morning routine look like to set you up for success for the day?
Absolutely. And really, I would say my morning routine starts at night, right? How do I plan out what am I going to do in the morning? And that is a critical step I feel like so many people miss. Right? That alarm clock goes off and it's, okay, what am I going to do? No, the night before, take some time and prepare what you're going to hit and tackle and accomplish that first 30 minutes when you wake up in the morning. So I definitely do that the night before, have my clothes out, alarm clock away from the bed so I don't hit that dreaded snooze button. And when my alarm goes off, there are 3 main components I do every single day. And these can travel with anybody, anywhere, whether you're on vacation, traveling for business or work. Drink a full glass of water. I get 10 minutes of exercise in, as well as 10 minutes of meditation, and they can travel at, like I said, anywhere, and they will get you ready to kick butt in your day.
That's awesome. And I remember when you talk about planning the night before, when I went to cross country camp way back in high school, many, many years ago, we had a coach there who had a saying that the day before is always more important than the day before. And what he meant was, if we have a cross country meet on Saturday, but you're out all night Thursday, don't think you could just make up for it Friday with sleep. But it's always important, right? Because it's a cumulative impact of energy and et cetera, and setting up your day. Do you, in addition to the mornings, as we record this, it's a Monday. You can kind of look like at Monday as the morning for your week, right? Is there a different ritual that you have on Mondays versus any other day of the week?
Not really at all. I stay consistent on my habits and rituals and morning fire routine every day of the week. Now, on the weekends, I do give myself a little bit of grace because I am up pretty darn early throughout the work week. But I would say Sundays, I really map out what am I going to attack for the week, right? Mm-hmm. Sunday's a great day to reflect on the week prior, but also say, okay, what are the major things that are going to move the needle in my personal life, professional life? Map those out, be that kind of North Star that you can drive towards in each of those areas, and then hit the ground running on Mondays. And people laugh at me because I love Mondays because it's a new start. It's new opportunities. There's new possibilities. And when you have habits and rituals that set you up for success, more energy, more focus, you look forward to Mondays. You look forward to those opportunities and possibilities that are out there.
That's awesome. And I want to remind anyone joining in, don't just be a lurker. Come in, share your comments. Let us know where in the world you're joining from. By the way, we're getting some comments. Aaron Urban, who's from South Texas, who had some snow this past weekend. She says, perfect. Planning is essential so you aren't scrambling in the morning. Absolutely. And Lauren Underhill comments, so much less anxiety in the AM when the evening before is purposeful and the week is planned. And sometimes I find it doesn't need to be like super in-depth planning the night before. Sometimes I just just looking at my calendar, making a few notes. If I have one-on-one calls with a client, just kind of, okay, here's a question I want to ask, just even a starter to make it happen. Sometimes it can be 20 minutes of planning, 10 minutes of planning, or less, depending on what you have going on that day. Is that right? You find
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. And I would also say anything that isn't a heavy brain activity, right? I coach clients to transform their mornings. When I first started doing this, there was low hanging fruit. I had a bunch of moms in the group, and they would give me their morning routine, and it was rushed. And one of the things that stood out was like making lunches for their kids. And I said, that doesn't take a lot of brain power necessarily to make a lunch. Move it to the night so you have an extra 5 to 10 minutes. And it's those types of things that you can put at the end of your day, prepare for the next day, that really set you up for success.
From a branding standpoint, one of the things that we talk about, and I wasn't always this way, but talking to folks like Oren Clough, best-selling author of Pitch Anything, Zach Messler, who's a messaging guru, and they talk about, in many cases, people, and actually, I had someone on this program that talked about your subconscious purchasing habits, that if you use words like transform, sometimes it's scary enough that people want to make small changes, right? But that word transform is like, oh my gosh, I just want to be better at this. That word transform can, but then when you bring it in, it's small, like you talked about, small little changes and habits to your day. From a branding point of view, the people who hop into work with you, I want to talk about, what you work on, how you work with them. Do you find that they're people that are more likely to jump in when you talk to them about making small changes to their habits, daily habits? Or are they people who are like, let's transform, let's just turn this around, let's just completely pivot and rip off? What do you find when you're talking to your potential clients?
Kurt, I would agree. I think that word transform probably scares people for the most part, right? It's intimidating, this overall transformation. When you speak about small incremental steps, habits that you can put into place that compound over time, you do them over and over again to create those subconscious patterns, those habits that really drive and can drive up to 95% of what we do on a daily basis. People can say, okay, I can do some small steps. I can make some small changes, right? And I feel like that's overall in anything, big goal. We just started 2021, right? When you start a big goal, you see that mountain, the mind immediately says, how the heck are you going to get there? Well, you've got to chunk it up. You've got to break it down. And then when you break it into smaller bite-sized pieces, then the mind says, okay, you know what? Let's take that first step. And that's such an important part of the process.
I mean, we haven't talked about this before, but I'm going to take a guess that you're a very process-oriented person. And it's easy to become results-oriented, which is a bit different. And I guess it's a mindset shift. And you look at some of the top coaches right now in college football. You look at Nick Saban tonight, as we record this, he's going to play, and he's very process oriented. He wants to win. He's judged on results, but on a daily basis, he said, we only focus all our energy, all our passion, everything into the next play. Our quarterback might break his leg in 4 places. Nothing I can do about that. And we'll put our second string quarterback in, but he's very process oriented. Is that something you teach? And if so, can you speak to that? Because I think it's so important about, listen, I want results, but the way I'm going to get my results isn't to curl up in a fetal position and worry about the winning and losing. It's to focus on, what am I doing today? What am I doing this hour? What am I doing in the next 5 minutes?
That's a very important point, because I think, Kurt, and I know this for a fact, actually, I don't think so many people want this quick kind of win and these quick results and things to happen overnight. And life is bookended by 2 dates, right? It's your birth date and the date you pass. And what does that dash look like? And if you have that more holistic approach that, hey, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to continue to work day in, day out. You can live more in the present moment and not be so fixated on, I'll feel this way when I get X or when I achieve Y. And it just allows you to appreciate life so much more and be grateful in the moment, grateful for all that you have, and enjoy the process and the struggle, because there is beauty in that. And if you can be more present in the moment, that's an amazing kind of perspective to have.
And we're a branding and sales podcast, but we talk about daily success habits, because one of the breakdowns that I see is, hey, all right, we have your message, we have your ideal clients. To communicate that message to those clients on a daily basis takes a ritual, takes habits. And so a lot of people are like, well, it was like, when was the last time you made your calls? When was the last time? Just posting content daily. Oh, well, I fell out of the routine. And so they don't do it. And so they don't sell. So they don't grow their business. What's people who come to you, who make those changes to make the bigger transformation? What are some of the biggest challenges you've seen for people who've come to you? And I guess some of the biggest success stories you've had. You don't have to name names, but those transformations that you've had through the small changes.
One of the biggest issues or kind of hurdles, roadblocks that people face is distractions, right? There are so many distractions. We're bombarded by how many millions of bits and pieces of information that comes across social media, email, text message, radio, TV, whatever it might be, that people are just used to being busy, used to being bombarded by all of that noise. And that's probably the biggest struggle for folks. I have a rule that when you wake up, no distractions. So you can't check email, you can't check text messages, you can't check voicemail, even if you see a number in that, that messaging box. And I always relate it to the tractor beam on the Death Star, like trying to pull you in. So you check it. But if you can give yourself space, if you can allow yourself time to really get that physical energy, get that mental energy up, you're going to be so much more equipped to be able to tackle what comes across in the morning. And I know a listener had mentioned something about anxiety. I mean, one of the greatest things I saw recently was I had a gentleman go through my 10-week course, and he got completely off his anxiety and depression medication and lost about 30 pounds in 10 weeks. And this is exercising 10 minutes a day. It's just having control when you wake up in the morning, knowing exactly what you're going to do when you get up. And the morning time was the highest peak he had for anxiety. And it just made such a difference. And it was amazing to watch.
And what you do is so important, because I think we're living in a world in which there are forces out there that would rather us be victims. And, if you're a victim of anxiety, and there's people watching this who are going to think, Kurt, you're so mean. Listen, I've had anxiety attacks so bad that I had to have my wife get the kids out of the room. I was on a cocktail of prescription drugs. How did I get off it? Daily habits and behaviors that allowed me to be in control of my own destiny instead of being a slave of big pharma or whatever else it is. And everything is, obviously we're in a pandemic, but everything is classified as an epidemic or pandemic now. Right? Things that can be controlled through daily habits and behaviors, whether it's weight loss, whether it's sales and branding, whatever it is. And when I say that, it's like, it's mean now to say that. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it wasn't mean. But you ask yourself, why? Who's wanting you to feel like you have to rely on those other things to make a difference when you could call up Jeff, right? You put together those daily habits and behaviors. Wouldn't you rather do that than be a slave and under the thumb of whatever it is? And I'm not taking shots at any one industry, but when you look at that, the distractions coming our way, and you look at we don't watch much TV, network TV, but we sat down, we tried to watch the Macy's parade. I had to turn it off. It was all drug commercials. I don't want my kids sitting there and getting that programming that, oh my gosh, everything from itchy elbows to whatever it is. Oh, I don't have to do anything myself. I just go and take a drug, and I don't want to instill that programming. I'd rather have the type of programming that you help people instill in themselves.
Yeah. And I love just that thought process, or visualizing, putting on that white lab coat, right? And becoming a scientist and trying to figure out what works for you, right? I obviously have a blueprint that works: the morning fire, the rise, fight, love, repeat. But I always tell people, right, some bits and pieces might not work for you. but play around with it, figure out what does. And the same thing can be said. You mentioned it, Kurt, exercise, fitness, play around with what works for you. Don't just stop at 1, 2, 3, 4 failures. Make that commitment that you are going to succeed and you will figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the blueprint. Without giving up your secret sauce, let's entice some people to reach out to you. What does that blueprint look like? Whether it's the Morning Academy, I assume you do one-on-one coaching. What does it look like when someone comes to you to get that impact?
Yes, I do both. I love having a discovery call first with someone because I want to understand where they're coming from. And you need to get down to a personal level to be able to help someone. And 6 years ago, almost a little over 6 years ago, I lost my mom to breast cancer. And that was a transformational moment for me, right? Punch to the gut, cut at the knees, seeing the woman that brought you into this world take her last breath. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, right? I'm grateful for each day. And I want to help other people get into that state of being energized, enthusiastic, just excited about their days. So I always love to say the mantra is just a driving factor: rise, fight, love, repeat. And I'll explain that to the listeners real quick. The rise, I love the rise is like a phoenix being reborn each day, right? And you have new opportunities, new possibilities, just like what I talked about for Mondays. And then the fight is you're fighting for your physical fitness, your mental fitness, your nutritional fitness, your spiritual fitness. And I feel like we get kind of that fight mentality bred out of us. No, be nice. You were kind of just talking about it. Don't ruffle anyone's feathers. Nah, screw that. Like, you got to fight for what you truly want, and you got to be a little bit maniacal about it. So that's the fight portion. The love portion is one that we always miss, and most importantly, it's loving ourselves. If you love yourself first, you're going to show up so much better for all those around you. And we do a powerful exercise where you'll go in the mirror and you'll turn off the light, take some deep breaths, pop it back on, and stare at yourself in the eyes and tell yourself that I love you. And I've been brought to tears doing it. And a lot of people are, because when was the last time you said I love yourself? We're so inherently hard on ourselves about what we didn't accomplish yesterday, what we procrastinated on. And you just need to give yourself a break, because if you love yourself better, you can love all those around you. And then the super unsexy part is just the repetition, right? Repeating it day in, day out. So those actions that you're doing on a daily basis become hardwired or in your subconscious mind, and you don't have to worry because you're programmed to do those, and they set you up for success.
That love yourself piece. Do you find a lot of people feel guilty about that at first? Because they don't add that second part about if you don't love yourself, can't love others and can't have the impact to others. Do you find people feeling guilty about it and feeling like it's selfish? Yes.
And I think that's, many of us were brought up that way, right? Be humble. Don't give yourself too much credit. And it's created where we're at now, where so many people beat themselves up over and over again and don't show themselves any self-love. And it's such a powerful exercise. And it's truly so unselfish, because when you show up better, when you love yourself more, you're going to give that out into the universe to everybody you touch.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And I want to go back to something you said about distractions. Mm-hmm. And, I think part of distractions is knowing what's important in your life and what's not important. And then taking what's important and separating it into, like, what are the actual outcomes like I need to accomplish for myself, my family, and my clients, right? Yep. So over the last year, there's obviously a lot of noise going on out in the world. And pandemic, politics, you name it. And last week, we have a no news in our house policy. I use an app called the Freedom app that actually shuts down programs and locks it so I can't get into it. So I shut it down from 6:30 to 8:45 in the morning. It locks down my email, locks down all this stuff, right? So I'm not even tempted, Because if I'm tempted, I can't even do it. I got to like email a help desk or something. And if it, and so that helps me keep non-distracted. And so my wife and I went out, I made my sales calls. This was whatever, last Tuesday or Wednesday, when the stuff at the Capitol happened. And we sit down and my wife's like, what do you think about what happened today? I'm like, what happened? I didn't even know it. Anyways, I did a post about that, about tuning out the noise and focusing on your signal. A lot of people got it, but some people got so upset that I wasn't so upset and sitting there day after day. And some people were respectful. And one person said, I'm unsubscribing. And I looked, and you could tell this guy, you could look at his posts on LinkedIn. He spent the day arguing with people, posting stuff. He's an attorney. I assume he's got clients. I don't know if he's got a family, but I assume he has some outcomes. So it's important to have strong feelings on things, whether they're policy, social, etc. And that's not what I'm saying. But how do you coach people to determine, listen, there's noise. Some of the noise is important, but maybe compartmentalize that so you don't spend 5 hours a day staring at a screen and getting angry versus this. Have you ever come up with that on some of those distractions, that it's not just a distraction like Facebook, or maybe it is, there's important things going on, but how do you tune it out and tune it on? Because you got important stuff to do.
Absolutely. And I'd say a couple things. Number one is having an awareness, right? That the mind has a negativity principle, right? Anything that is negative, the mind interprets it as a threat, right? It thinks we've evolved, but our minds haven't. Our minds are still back, and it's called caveman brain, right? We're still back in the cave. If we see anything as a threat, it's like a saber-toothed tiger ready to kill us. So the mind amplifies whatever has happened. Could have been that post that gentleman had said he was going to unsubscribe to you. Your mind fixates on it. It amplifies it 8 to 9 to 10 times more than a positive emotion. So you are going to have a tough time getting out of that, right? Because that's why the news is all negative. But Friday night, the last 5 minutes of the broadcast, because they know your mind amplifies it and it hooks you in, right? So that's number one, is having just an awareness of that negativity principle. Because so many times people say, gosh, I had 500 great comments on a post, but one person said something and I couldn't get past it. That's the negativity principle in play. And one quick strategy I'll give your listeners is I love to set an alarm clock for 3 minutes. And 3 minutes, I can stew, I can curse, I can punch, I can yell all about that comment that somebody posted or whatever happened that was negative. Once that alarm clock goes off, I'm releasing it into the universe. I'm moving on. And that's just a powerful thing, because you have that trigger of the alarm going off. Okay, the mind's saying, yep, it's time to move past it and move on. So having an awareness, using that strategy, and then understanding that you can only control what you can control. And yes, you can have an awareness on what's going on, but you have to shut it off rather quickly and just have an understanding, and then go about your business and what you're trying to accomplish. And so many times people can get derailed. One, because they don't have those true goals that they're driving. They don't have those driving forces on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that they're shooting for. And then when that negative news or something negative comes across their viewpoint, they get totally knocked off the rails because they don't understand the science behind it. Sure. And why their mind just fixates on it and they can't get past it. So those are just a couple things to battle that type of negativity.
You talked about your mom and your mom passing. Was that the catalyst to get you into doing what you're doing now and helping people through coaching? And can you tell our listeners a bit about that journey?
Yes, I was in corporate America for almost 24 years prior to her passing. And then about 11 months after she passed, I was told I needed to relocate to different areas of the country. I've grown up in southeastern Pennsylvania, have two sons, 10 and 12. I said, now's the time to make a switch. Opened up a local gym, and what kind of grew out of that organically was people still cannot get through the mindset piece and those habits and rituals that you have on a daily basis, that they struggle with finding out how to do things different, right? They're on this never-ending treadmill, the hamster wheel of life. And I went through a very deep dive personally. And then I said, wow, it transformed me. And then I said, I've got to take this out and see if it can help other people. did a beta test, got great results, and it's been that kind of mission ever since that drives me on a daily basis. And I'm in the trenches with my clients every day, doing the work. Right, I'm not the kind of a teacher that reads a book and doesn't do it. I'm in there grinding with you, and every day isn't perfect, but we try and do the best we can every single day, and we get after it.
Are you still in the gym business at all?
So I shut down after COVID. I reopened, and just with all the fear and understandable people concerned, I'm transitioning out of that as we speak.
Got it. Yeah, there's some New Jersey gym owners that have been in the news.
Yes, they have.
Jeff, for our listeners, we're gonna end by letting everyone know. We're gonna put in the show notes how they get in touch with you. But in terms of one strategy that someone listening to this, maybe they're watching this live and it's Monday and they're like, yeah, you know what? What's one thing I can do tomorrow? Or what's one thing I can do starting tonight to have a better, more successful day tomorrow? What's that one thing that you would tell them?
One thing, gosh, it's so hard to do one thing, but let's just do a glass of water, right? Getting a glass of water prepared the night before. And I know we talk, Kurt, not all water is the same, but even just getting a glass of water the night before prepared. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, you can hydrate, because the longest you go throughout your 24 hours is at night when you don't get water. And we're made so much of water, right? So if you start that hydration process, you're going to get amazing burst of energy. It's going to start to hydrate the body and really get you kicked off to start your day.
And it's amazing. It might take you 10 seconds to fill up a glass of water in the morning, but doing it the night before makes such a huge difference when you get up and you're tired and you're groggy and you want to reach for the coffee first, right?
Well, it's crazy. And I tell people this, I'm like, yes, have your glass of water out ready for you the night before. And they're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, no, because what happens if you come downstairs, go to take your favorite glass out of the cabinet, and it's not there? That's the mind's first opportunity to say, you know what? Heck with this morning fire program. This is BS. I'm just going to go back to my normal routine. So you've got to eliminate all those opportunities for the mind to say, you know what? This is too hard. I'm going to take the easy way out.
That's great. That's wonderful. Jeff, where can our viewers and our listeners, again, we'll put all your links in the show notes to your podcast, to your book, but that one-stop shop, where's the best place for them to go to learn more about you?
Absolutely. They can go out to www.themorningfire.com. They can grab the first 3 chapters to my best-selling book, Rise, Fight, Love, Repeat, as well as they scroll down. I am taking applicants into my Morning Fire Academy 10-week signature coaching course right now, so they could apply and we could jump on a call as well.
That's awesome. If you are viewing and you are listening and you want to change your daily habit starting the night before tomorrow morning to set you up for success each and every day, please reach out to Jeff. Check out his book, check out his podcast. All the links will be in the podcast. Thank you so much, everyone who watched this live. Thank you if you're listening to this. And Jeff, thanks so much for joining us today on the Authority Brand Podcast.
Kurt, truly appreciate it. Thanks so much.